Christina Cook. I'm a mission specialist.
I'm Jeremy Hansen. I'm a mission specialist.
I'm Victor Glover. I'm the pilot.
I'm Reed Wiseman. I'm the commander for the Artemis II mission to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
We are so appreciative of you being here, and so we just elated that you've taken the time. I will tell you just how special you all are, because earlier this month they were at the White House, and today they stepped up and they are at City Hall. You know. So, but look, I want to get into it. I don't want to take a lot of time, just me talking. But let me just start with Director Vanessa Weiss. Thank you for being present. You know, she's over the Johnson Space Center. There are about 11,000 employees there. I think it was Texas Monthly said that they were the best employer in the state of Texas. And so I want to acknowledge your amazing leadership. We were just together over the weekend when we named the Dr. Shannon Walker Library, cut the ribbon on that, state-of-the-art facility on Saturday, and Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Cass District. So thank you for making yourself so available. This morning, we have the astronauts who are going to be on Artemis II, and this will be the first flight in 50 years. More than 50. Was it 72? So yeah, and it will be a very historic flight on so many levels. That's one, but we'll have the first woman on this flight, Christina Koch, sitting right next to me. And then we'll have a person of color, pilot Victor Glover, right here. And for the, alphas in the room, he's a Sigma, but we won't hold that against him, And then we have the first person not coming from the United States, a Canadian, who is here, Jeremy Hansen. And then, of course, the commander of what's happening here is this guy right here, and that's Commander Wiseman. Give it up to him. And together they will make up the team. Very historic. We're all excited. Unfortunately, I had to decline, so I'm not going to be able to make this one. But on Artemis III, I look forward to going to Mars. I didn't want to go to the moon. But let me just start off by Commander, let me just start with you. What makes this mission so exciting? Why is it exciting to you, and what does it mean?
I wanted to start with a joke, so maybe I'll get to the joke. But to answer your immediate question, that brings up so much emotion. Why is this exciting on a personal level? For me, I have to be completely honest. I get to fly with Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. These are three of the most professional humans, funny, team-caring people, and the amount that they want to give back to the community to motivate everybody, it brings me up a level every day when we get to work. I'll take a minute and a second to talk through the mission, but I do have to start because Mayor said we stepped up our game by coming to City Hall today. And I just want you all to know that neither of my kids were born in Texas. But they got here when they were 1 and 3. And now they're 15 and 17. And when we went to the White House last week, we drive into D.C. and I tell my kids, I'm like, oh, there's a Washington Monument. What was the first thing my Texas-educated 17-year-old daughter said? The San Jacinto Monument is 15 feet taller than the Washington Monument. The first thing she said. So, And then I also, because he won't say it, I will highlight that Jeremy Hansen has a Canadian flag on his left shoulder, but that man lives right down the street from all of us in Friendswood, Texas. So he is a Texan true and is way better line dancer than I will ever want to be. I may have made that up.
Turn the music on.
The mayor said we wanted to have fun. Let me just touch real quick on the mission, and then I'm going to hand it down the line because we want to hear from everybody. We are going to launch out of the Kennedy Space Center on the Orion spacecraft powered by the Space Launch System. Parts of this spacecraft are built in all 50 states and around the world. It really is an international mission. It's great to have our JSC Center Director, Vanessa Weiss, who has just been a great friend and a huge advocate for everything we are doing. It's great to have you here as well, Vanessa. We're going to launch out of the Kennedy Space Center, and to break it down very simply, it's a 9-day mission, but it is only really 3 orbits of the Earth. We're going to launch, and our first orbit will take us to 1,200 miles from Earth. To put that in perspective, the International Space Station is 250 miles off the planet. So for myself, Victor, and Christina, just coming off the pad at Kennedy Space Center will already be over 4 times higher than we were when we spent the time that we spent on the space station, a combined 2 years of spaceflight experience. After that, we will do a single burn on our upper stage, and that will take us out to 38,000 miles from Earth. Like that, for us, just blows our mind. That is an entire day it will take for us to travel around the Earth at 38,000 miles apogee. And from that view, like, we will look out the window and see truly every single person on planet Earth. But as Christina pointed out, we will also see our 7 friends who at that time will be on the International Space Station. And it'll be the first time in human history that we have sent humans to deep space, but we've also sent our peers to the International Space Station to continue the science mission that we're doing there. And then if everything is going well on our vehicle, the reason that we're doing that 1-day, 38,000-mile orbit is to check out our spacecraft through and through. If anything goes wrong, we just come home right there. If everything is going well, then we will get those magical words from Mission Control in Houston that you are go for TLI, translunar injection. And if we do that burn on the European Service Module, we are heading out to our 3rd orbit of Earth, which will take us to 250,000 miles, and we'll intercept the moon. We'll go around the far side of the moon. We'll use the gravity of the moon to bend us back towards Earth, and we'll come home. It's about a 4-day transit out and a 4-day transit back, and that'll all add up to our 9-day mission, and it will be spectacular. And to be able to do that in an age where we can probably communicate in near real time on social media, we can have interviews while we're going out there, to be able to share what humans have created, and we are the 4 lucky ones to go and look at what's out there, and to share that back is something that we're very excited for. Victor?
Well said, Reed. Well said. First thing I want to say is thank you, Mayor, for the invitation. Thank you for having us, and thank you for your leadership and support. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you to all of the staff for your great support. There's no place like Space City. And my name is Victor Glover. I had the privilege of flying to the International Space Station in November of 2020 as a part of Crew 1 and Expeditions 64 and 65 on the International Space Station. And I'm just going to be brief so we can get into the Q&A, but we landed on May 2nd of 2021, so 168 days in space. And, you know, my crewmates laugh when I say my favorite part, or what I'm looking forward to, is splashdown. And it's the truth, because our job is really to enable the next mission, Artemis 3 and 4, for the long view of this program, to make sure that this vehicle is safe for humans. But splashdown means everything else went successfully. But the part of the mission that was the most meaningful was when we stepped off the airplane right here in Houston at Ellington Field, because my family and friends were waiting out there for us. And so there's no place like home, and you all are a part of that. So thank you very much for that, and we look forward to making you proud and trying to do that same thing again.
Thanks, Victor. Christine, and I can appreciate the splashdown. That's the part that I love too when I came down.
This morning.
Christina.
Yes, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. It is absolutely phenomenal to be here with all of you. People standing, people that stop their jobs and everything they're doing to be here. I know how hard you work because I listen to the radio news every single day, and I'm always hearing about the amazing accomplishments of the people in this room. So thank you so much for your enthusiasm. We are just as excited as you are about this mission, and it is phenomenal to be with you. I have to say, as someone, I grew up in North Carolina, I never thought Houston would be my home, but wow, am I ever glad that it is. I love this city. You all make it what it is, and it is phenomenal to call Houston, we have a problem, Houston, our home, so thank you for that.
Thanks, Christina.
And the one thing I wanted to add is oftentimes I get the question, what was the most surprising thing you saw from space? I had the privilege of also living and working on the International Space Station for most of 2019. And my answer is how amazing it is, surprisingly, to look at your home on Earth. And this Texas coastline, when it comes into the view as you're flying over, and you suddenly realize that you're looking down at Houston, you can see the beltways, you can see the bay, and it comes into focus, that will take your breath away. So thank you for making our home such a special place to live in, but also to look down on from space.
Thanks, Christina. Jeremy, what makes this so special for you, this flight?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Reed said it. I've lived down here 14 years. Reed and I were in the same class, 2009. I moved my family down here, raised my kids here. And so Houston has very much become a home for me. People ask me where I live. I say I live in Houston. And so, yeah, there is a Canadian flag on this patch, and I am a loyal Canadian. I love my country. But I've really made a home in the United States. And one of the things I love to reflect back about this mission, one of the parts that really resonates with me is through my lens, what I see. What I see is extraordinary American leadership that created this program. We're going back to the moon. The Americans could have done it on their own. You could do it on your own. You don't need Canada. As much as I wish you did, you don't. So why did you do that? You did it because you're good leaders. And you intentionally carved out space for others to come along because you're trying to lead the world. You're trying to bring the world together to tackle big problems as an international collaboration. That's an extraordinary example. We're studying it right now while 7 of our colleagues are on board the International Space Station, doing that in space right now while we're chatting. It's an extraordinary example for humanity right now with all the issues we have on this planet. The one thing we know for sure, we have to work together, and you are providing that leadership. And it's hard fought. And so I just wanted to reflect back to you through my lens, what I see when I go home to Canada and talk about Artemis II. Canadians are super excited that they're part of this, and it's motivating them to bring their genius, their contributions to this program. You will see Canadian elements to going back to the moon, and you'll see elements from around the world. And that's an extraordinary compliment to you as Americans for your leadership. So I thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Reed, let me go back to you. You're the commander. The importance of STEM, and why should we encourage, for example, our kids and students and others to really kind of tune in, and how can they get to the point where they can dream above, just have dreams and aspirations? What got you started and interested in STEM, for example?
Would you mind if I threw a question right back at you? Would you share where you're going after we're finished here today?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to space. I mean, that's hell. I done been here, down here. Is there an extra seat?
I think we can make room.
Well, let me do this though, because this is a question I do have, a burning question for everybody. I cannot imagine being up in space for days and days and days and cramped up and can't go to a restaurant and, how do you deal with being in this little capsule without it affecting your mind? I mean, is it just a natural thing? It's just part of your DNA?
Well, it's a great question, and thank you. I actually also, in addition to spending almost 11 months on board the International Space Station, I wintered over at the South Pole Station in Antarctica for a year, and I actually did have some mind games that I used to make sure that I enjoyed every single day of those journeys. And that trick is every time I started to miss something on Earth that I didn't have access to, whether that was personal space, like you said, a really nice latte, going to a restaurant, smells of the beach, I would immediately stop that thought and replace it with something that I had at that moment that I would never have again and I would miss one day. And if you have that attitude every single day, you think, one day I'm going to just give anything to look out the cupola window. One day I'm going to give anything to walk out of this Antarctic station and look up and see the auroras. And that's what you focus on, you will love every single minute of every day. And I never counted down. I was never ready for any of my missions or seasons to end. And that was why. I discovered that, and it got me through those days, even when I wanted to, elbow my crewmates out of my way and and go to the mall.
Thank you, Christina. But Reed, going back, the importance of STEM.
I didn't want to completely gloss over your question because it's a critical one, and it's one that I've thought about a lot. But my life, as I've gotten older, my life has changed significantly. I'm going to answer this in the way that my heart tells me. As a kid growing up, I truly knew I could do anything in this country. If I wanted to try to be the president, I could try for that. If I wanted to be an engineer, if I wanted to drive a train, I could try for all those things. But I have realized there are a lot of kids that grow up in our country and they don't know that they can try for those things. Even though they can, they don't know that they can. And just traveling our own nation with this crew, I see how much it impacts people when they see Victor, when they see Christina, when they see Jeremy, and when they see me. And they can see themselves projected out into the future. It really, really matters. So when you're going out and trying to talk to young African-American kids and tell them, you can be pilots because we don't have enough pilots that look like you, it really does matter. And they really can go do that, and they really should do it. Some of our greatest history is written by people that look just like them in combat aviation. So getting out there and just showing people, getting off of social media and going and doing something big, really projecting out there that, yes, humans can do it and we can all do it, and we do it better when we are together. We were just in London and we had the neatest little event. It was about 40 deaf school children, and we did an entire discussion with them. You know what the first question they asked us?
What was that?
Can we work in space if we're deaf? And our answer was very clear. Not only can you, we absolutely need you, because until we have your perspective fed into our system, we are weaker. Right. And we will be stronger when you are feeding your perspective into our system, because we will be doing it for all and by all. And it's very powerful. So get out there, study science if that's your passion. Study medicine if that's your passion. Be a veterinarian. If you really love groceries, go be a grocery supply chain person. We need all of these people to make our civilization work and be efficient. And one of my greatest joys in life is going to a restaurant in downtown on that special night and having someone create food for me that is art, and it's delicious and it's fulfilling, and I get conversation with my family. Think how critical just working in a restaurant is for the joy of other humans. We miss that art of life sometimes, and that is really precious.
Thanks, Reed. And Victor, let me turn to you, because African American on this trip, person of color, that's historic in and of itself. For many people like myself, when I went up and they asked me to rappel off this cliff as a part of the American Leadership Forum, I said, y'all lost your damn minds. We're gonna rappel off this. They said, yeah. So a lot of kids of color, when you're talking about leaving the ground, going up into the air, hesitant, but what does it mean to you, personally, being a part of the program, being a part of Artemis II? What does it mean to you, and what would you say to other kids of color who are out there?
Well, Reed started it. What you said was fantastic. I love what you captured, and I think young folks need to know that they can, but they also need to be exposed to it. We get to do a lot of outreach, and we get this very thin but not very deep opportunity. And so for those of you who are in education or parents, we need to put our kids in the environments for them to succeed and support them, which means giving them a chance to trip and fall, but also to pick themselves up and dust themselves off and try again. But first of all, I want to address something you brought up. I took my kids to the Stratosphere in Las Vegas to ride those rides up 1,000 feet up. And, I didn't know I couldn't either. I fly for a living. I've been flying since July 6, 2000, first time I strapped on an airplane. And listen, I don't like being up high. without an airplane around me. So if you're afraid in that environment, it's because you're sane, you're rational, right? Your body's like, I want to continue living. We should not be near that edge. So that's normal, but that's not a barrier to flight. That's not a barrier to being an engineer, to being a diver, to wintering over in Antarctica, or just going for a season if you don't want to stay when all the ships and airplanes leave. She's awesome. But they need to be exposed. They need to see it, because until they fly an airplane, they don't know in their bones. Even when I tell them you can do anything, they need to see it for themselves. And so that's what I love about this crew. And so, people ask myself and they ask Christina, what does it mean to you? But it's bigger than that. It's what it means to the country. It's what it means to this city. Is Houston being one of the most diverse cities in America, we represent you. We represent the astronaut office. We represent Canada. We represent America. And so it's not any one of us. I honestly, I wish people would stop asking me, because it's not me. It's look at us. Look at this crew. We represent the hardworking science and technology workforce in this city, in this country. And we're going to do our best to make sure that we are not the limiting factors in this mission. We're going to try to make you all proud and enable the next mission. But it is important for young folks to see themselves and to know that, yeah, I look like you. You look like me. That was a big part of my journey in getting into the Navy. I was resistant. I told the Naval Academy and West Point, no, I didn't want to go into the military. And then while I was in college, at State College, I met a mentor who was a reservist. And when I saw him in his uniform, with his face looked like mine, but was in a Navy uniform, I joined the Navy less than a year later. And so I understand in my life experience the importance of exposure. And I think we need to put our kids in a position to fail within reason, but also to succeed. It's exposure, not just encouraging them, but we need to expose them and put them in the environment. And I love that about this crew. When you see all four of us, we are showing people what our country is comprised of and what we can do, not when we put our differences aside, but when we bring them in and put them towards one mission, accomplishing one thing together.
Thanks, Victor. Give it up to him. Christina, you've been on a couple of flights, and you've been up in space over 300 days, and you were one of the first two women walking out there on space. What drives you? What would you say to all of the people here to motivate them to push through and go beyond?
Wow. Well, it was a privilege to be a part of those things. And one of the pieces of advice that I like to give, especially when it's about being at the table, which I am so happy to be part of this mission where we are joining NASA when the decisions have already been made that it's important to go for all and by all. And that's why you see us up here. It's not the individuals that are on this stage. It's you all. It's the leaders that knew that this was important. So having participated in those things, it wasn't just about participating. It was about focusing on excellence, on exactly the mission that we were doing. And I'll tell you a little secret about that first all-female spacewalk many people don't know. It wasn't a planned spacewalk. Something broke that we didn't expect to break, and we went out on a spacewalk, Jessica and I, a week after that thing broke, having planned that spacewalk together with the teams on the ground. Spacewalks are usually planned over a series of 3 years or so. You practice them to infinity in the pool. You know every single step you're going to do. And we did that contingency spacewalk in a week. That's the cool story. And so when you're thinking about being at the table, it's all about being excellent. Neil Armstrong was nothing without Katherine Johnson. I'm nothing without Mae Jemison. And I've heard that something she said, the first African-American woman in space, is that if there were aliens and they looked at the Apollo missions, as amazing as they were and are, and as proud of them as I am, the aliens would have thought that everyone on Earth looked like those people. And I'm happy that the aliens we're going to see, they're going to know every single person that we represent.
Now,
Oh, my gosh.
now that'll preach. I like that. Okay. I can run with that one. Thank you.
Run with it. You're on the crew.
Thank you. Jeremy, Canada, a part of this amazing team. From an international perspective, what's the significance of that? Of being a part of this amazing team right here.
Well, we should have just ended this whole thing on the last one. However, going back to my previous comment, I mean, that really is it. We're eclipsing 8 billion people on the planet. And I'm not satisfied with how things are going across the world. I doubt any of you truly are. If you lift your head up even for a moment and read a few news stories, we're not doing okay. We can do a lot better. And humans are built to collaborate. That's why we succeeded on this planet. That is how you survive here. You build communities, you support one another. We know that. We can't exist. We can't have the lives we have as individuals. We have to work together. But we haven't managed to figure out how to get 8 billion of us to work together with good intentions and for the right reasons. And space is not going to fix all the problems on the planet. Artemis II is going to happen. We're going to come back, and there'll still be challenges here. But it is going to give a very visual example to people. They are going to be able to look at Artemis II and say, wow, look at what that community did by working together. And that's pretty extraordinary. They threw 4 humans around the moon, and that's not easy. And as we go back to the moon, I mean, we're not just repeating what we did in the past. We're doing something completely new. We're building new infrastructure, different infrastructure, more capable infrastructure. We plan to go to the moon to stay this time, to enable ourselves to go to Mars. It's a completely different architecture than Apollo. The challenges are much bigger than they were for Apollo. They're very real, and we're taking those on. And they're so big, we're doing it as an international collaboration. And that is what is important that people see. We will fly out around the moon, we'll look back, and we will take photos, and we will try to convey what we see, but we will see every single human hanging in the vacuum of space. And hopefully, humanity, during that mission, will just pause for even just a moment and say, that's at least what we ought to be aiming for.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, man. And that's a good time to see this video that we have. So if y'all will play this video right quick. Oh, you see.
I'm a mission specialist.
I'm Jeremy Hansen. I'm a mission specialist.
I'm Victor Glover. I'm the pilot.
I'm Reed Wiseman. I'm the commander for the Artemis II mission to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
When I was young, I had a poster of the Earthrise picture, the famous picture that was taken on Apollo 8. And the fact that it was a human behind the lens that made that picture so profound and changed how we all thought of our own home was so amazing to me. The moon is not just a symbol of thinking about our place in the universe. It's not just a symbol of exploration. It's actually a beacon for science. It's a beacon for understanding where we came from.
You know, pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. It's a part of being a human. That's our nature. We go out there and we explore to learn about where we are, why we are, understanding the big questions about our place in the universe. The exploration we're doing is the first few steps on the path of getting humans to Mars.
The Artemis campaign of missions have set such an ambitious goal for humanity that it's inspiring contributions from around the globe. Not just one nation is inspired and moved by this, but nations from around the globe are coming together.
When I look at the Artemis II crew with Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, they want to go do this mission. They are keenly driven. They are humble to a fault. It is so cool to be around them. Artemis II is a huge mission, but I hope we will look back and realize that this was one tiny step in humans on Mars and a sustained presence on our moon.
4-stage engine start.
Artemis II will be NASA's first crewed flight test of the Space Launch System rocket
And Orion spacecraft around the moon.
to verify today's capabilities for humans to explore deep space
and pave the way for NASA's long-term human and scientific presence.
on the lunar surface.
we are ready.
We are going.
To the moon.
For all humanity.
We are Artemis.
And we are so very proud of you. Before we turn to take
hit subscribe.
Jeremy, that was to get you ready for the line dance, okay? So just don't get too relaxed now. It's the floor, But before we turn to have a few media questions, Director Weiss, you want to come and just say hello.
On the spot.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay. Well, just want to thank you. As all of the crew has said, Houston is our home. And this is where we train our astronauts. We're preparing for the mission, all the plans that will go into Artemis II. And we want to thank our partners here at the City of Houston, and especially we want to thank you, Mayor Turner. We do have, and it's on the way, so that's why I was trying to get you to slow down just a little bit, but I have a little something for you that we're going to give you.
Oh, we can wait.
Okay.
No,
Because I do want to share that the mayor has been a tremendous partner from even before you were mayor, coming and visiting, participating with events at the Johnson Space Center. He came and encouraged our African American Employee Resource Group. His flight jacket is from Apollo 11. We celebrated the 50th anniversary of that mission. You celebrated with us the 60th anniversary of JFK's speech at Rice Stadium. He's always been there to partner with us and let us know that anything we've ever asked for and needed. And I want to just say thank you for that. And then I also want to share on behalf of all of us at the Johnson Space Center how proud we are of our Artemis II crew. I'm sitting there, Dave asked me, have you seen that video? I said, no, not that version. Because they have been training, they have been traveling, they've been doing so much to get ready for this mission. And I just want to say, give it up for each and every one of them. And I know that they're going to make us proud. When they say, we're going to do our best to make you proud, you're making us proud every single day. Thank you so much for sharing. Our story is about trying to encourage others to join our mission. And for those that work at the city, I won't try to steal you. I tried to steal one of the employees on Saturday, and and I was told I couldn't have her. But we do.
I heard about that.
Yeah. But we do want to encourage you to please encourage your children. Come down, join us, learn about what we're doing, because it's going to take all of us, every last one of us, to do this big, bold mission of going to the moon. And as Jeremy said, this time we're going to stay, and we're going to Mars. And it's going to take every one of us to do that. Thank you, Mayor Turner.
Thanks, Director. Well said. And I want you all to know how proud we are, because let me tell you, when we go on these trade and international missions, NASA always comes up. When we ask about Houston, they say NASA, Johnson Space Center. So you all help to make Houston, and that's what we are known for. So we are incredibly proud. Incredibly proud. When you all go up, Houston goes up. Quite frankly, along with every city, every state, and now all the countries around the globe. But from Houston's perspective, when you move, Houston moves. When you do the spacewalk, Houston is spacewalking. And when you're out there in space, Houston is there. And then when you meet those other beings out there, please say Houston, you know. So, incredibly proud. Now to the media. The questions, any questions from the media? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. This is for all the astronauts. What's an absolute essential item that you'll be taking on this mission? I'm sure it varies for each and every one of you, but that absolute must-have item, whether it's something that's very personal or essential.
Besides Houston.
Well, I'll answer completely honestly. I'm 48 years old, and reading glasses will be 100% essential on that mission for me.
Like these right here.
Christina. No, in seriousness, my Bible. And, you know, we have a lot of weight and volume restrictions, and so I'm not sure if I'll be able to bring an actual book, but at a minimum, a digital copy, but my Bible.
All right. My mama would be, I say, oh, he's a good one. Christina.
For me, something that was really meaningful during my time in space was when I would get something handmade or handwritten from someone on the ground, just because knowing that their hands were on that same thing and that it made its way to me. So I hope I'm going to ask some of my family and loved ones to write letters and that I can open when I'm out there.
Jeremy?
And I know we'll all do this, but one of the things that's really important is just recognizing the family that supports us each and every day. And so I'm going to fly just a very tiny memento for my wife and my 3 children because I just couldn't do this without their support. And we say that a lot, but just like as an example, like I really couldn't do it without my 3 kids being strong, independent, tackling their own challenges. I mean, we help each other as a family. Like it's more than just a token saying. Like I really couldn't do it without them leaning in and carrying themselves the way they do. And so I just have to acknowledge that somehow.
Yeah. Another question. Oh.
Was being astronaut your dream job?
Oh.
Christina's got it.
Christina?
Well, we all have great answers to this one. I could probably tell their stories too. But for me, yes, it was my dream job since the time I was even younger than you are right now. I wanted to be an astronaut, and I just never grew out of it. I was really lucky that the people around me encouraged me to do it.
I have to tell you one other thing. Yesterday I was given a gift. So, and I'll tell you the background of that story. So when I was around your age, I saw an image of a human standing on the moon, and it was Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, I'm not sure. But it was in Encyclopedia A. And encyclopedias were books we had before the internet. So when you couldn't just look on a phone or a computer for an answer, you had to look in a book. And I came across the fact that humans went to the moon. I was about your age when I figured that out. And it happened before I was born, but I was like, what? Humans went to the moon and came back? And I went back to that encyclopedia over and over and over again and looked at that page. And yesterday, Christina gifted me an Encyclopedia A.
Now you're telling them the Encyclopedia, the Britannica. And I do want to emphasize that because for people like myself, like you, that's how we travel the globe, beyond our communities, going to the encyclopedia, looking at it, and then imagining. So I can so relate to the encyclopedia. Anyone else want to? Victor?
So when I was a kid, I actually wanted to play in the National Football League. I wanted to play professional football, but I'm not as tall as Jeremy, and so I was lucky I got to play college football, and in my part-time, I was also an engineering student. But I actually, growing up, while sports was very important, team sports was important, but so was service. My grandmother around the holidays made sure we went out and did things for other people. And so service was something important to me in college while I was getting my education. And that combination of team sports, service, and just a love for excitement, wanting to drive motorcycles or, being able to fly an airplane is what led to me joining the Navy. And then that eventually was the precursor to me joining NASA or applying to join NASA. So it wasn't my dream job. And I just think it's important to know, you don't have to know from the age you are now that you want to be an astronaut for it to still be possible. We have doctors, engineers, teachers, scientists and physicians and all kinds of different backgrounds. And luckily, on the way to not playing professional football, I still did some things that qualified me to apply at some point. And so you can get there from a lot of different places.
Reed?
I'll tie this back to Victor's first answer, which to me, I think growing up, it was just exposure. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and there was a large quarry near us, a limestone quarry, and freight trains would go in and out of that quarry all day long. And my dad would come home from work, and if we would hear the whistle of the train, we would jump in his car, and we would drive down, and I would just stand on the train tracks and watch the trains go in and watch the trains go out. And one day, we stood there so often that one day, the conductor stopped the train, and he's like, "You're out here all the time. You want to jump on and ride the train into the quarry?" Could you imagine that happening this day and age? But there I was in the cab of this freight train driving it into the quarry, and then I started to get into airplanes and watching airplanes fly. And then one day I was out in California visiting my brother who lived out there, and I saw 2 fighter jets kind of flying out over the ocean. And in my head, I had this romantic thought of, they're going to an aircraft carrier at sea, and they're not coming back for probably a long time. And that was when I was like, I have to join the U.S. Navy. I have to go do that. And so for me, it just built on that every time I got to see something. And I can't end this answer without saying that additionally, in a very awkward way, the Challenger disaster was extremely formative in my life. I didn't know those astronauts, but I was in elementary school when the Challenger accident occurred, the tragedy, and that impacted my life. I watched our entire nation stop. I watched President Reagan speak. I watched everyone cry, my teachers, my parents, myself, and that is etched in my brain forever. And I think that definitely had a large impact on me.
Thanks, Reed. One last question. Is there another question? Yes.
So you all have a lot of power because you're going to be one of the few people who are going to be in lunar orbit, who have gone so far. So I'm wondering if y'all have plans to do any firsts in lunar orbit, I don't know. I'm just pulling something out of my head, but first tweet or something like that.
And I think what he's trying to say, when you get up there, do you intend to mention my name? Or, is there something, is there something that y'all want to?
Well, I just one of my goals in training for a mission, and I think everybody has a similar type of feeling, but to put some words to the feeling is, I don't want to become the next training example. And what I mean by that is, I don't want the next generation of astronauts, when you become an astronaut, I don't want them to put up my picture with my face blurred out to go look at this thing this one crew member did. And so when they teach us what the mission is and what we want to do, I just want to do that. Now, in the moment, when I get there, I don't think a lot about this. Even saying it right now, I'm not telling you something I was thinking about on the way up here, but being at the moon, looking back at Earth. People think a lot about looking at the moon up close, but looking back at Earth from 250,000 miles, I'm going to just be in that moment, and that will be enough, and to be with them in that moment. Now, once we get there, you've heard this crew. Listen, there may be some firsts, but I'm not planning to do anything. I just want to get the mission done and make it to splashdown. But we're going to just spend some time in that moment, and we'll see what happens.
Can I add one? I just want to add one thing, because it's just so perfect. Victor and I were talking the other day, and I was like, I never quote anyone when I talk. I never quote anyone, because whatever comes out of my mouth, I don't want to anchor to something else. And when you get to space, I know how you felt when you first got to space. When those engines cut off and you look down at Earth, you have looked at 1 million pictures of Earth, and nothing compares to what you're seeing with your own eyes in your brain. And so when we go around the moon, we are going to say something. Hopefully it'll be prolific. But I don't want to go in with my brain anchored somewhere where it is now. I want to see what we are looking at as humans, the raw emotion. I want to see how each of them view the moon, what their expressions are. And if we can capture that raw moment, we will have done exactly what we were sent to do.
Anyone? Okay, then let me just, let me do this. What an incredible moment for all of us here at City Hall and in Houston as a whole. And this is special. And we want each of you to know how special you all are, individually, but even greater collectively. And the personal dynamics and your presence I mean, it's a powerful picture, okay? Because it says to all of us, we can. And down the stretch, I think one question is, everyone can participate in the program and be a part of the program. And because of that, I want to give you all something from all of us. And so this is Jessica, who is a part of the Mayor's Trade and International Affairs. And look, we are the home of the largest rodeo in the world. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And I know it's the spaceship, but you have to get on a horse every now and then. So let me present this belt buckle to each one of you on behalf of the city. So Jeremy, let me go down there.
Thank you.
Christina. Victor. And Commander Reed. And Director Weiss, if you will come. And because in Texas and Houston, you either go big or you go home, we want to present to, open it up for me, just want to present to you this medallion from the city of Houston commemorating your presence here, because you all have taken out of your time to be here, and that means a lot. So Jeremy, this is a medallion from the city.
Very generous.
Christina. Victor. And to Commander to read. And Director. Thank you very much. Good. Come on, give it up to all of them. Give it up to all of them. Look, I am so #Houston proud. I really am. What an amazing time in which to live, and your presence and what you're doing makes us all very optimistic. So that speaks volumes. Olivera is right there. Yankoska, who's over the city's education and youth engagement, and in this room. A lot of kids on the podcast, and they're so reflective of our city. Several of them are here today, and so I can only imagine what your presence and what you've said means. So thank you. I know a lot of people want to take pictures with you, and they've been generous with their time, so we've got about 40 minutes to do that, and then they've got a hard stop. But again, give it up to them. I'm just...